Welcome back to another edition of the Film Geeks Podcast, Quarantine Edition. And we today have, as usual, Arindam and Anirban. And joining us today is Parjanya, making his debut all the way from the suburbs of Mumbai. Say hi, Parjanya.
DC Mother.
This is a family show, man. What the fuck?
Yes, I promised Fuzal I would give that one. He was like, "तुम बोला नहीं तो तेरा waste है appearance."
He himself has not made an
But
appearance.
like in all things in life, you should be pacing yourself. Don't blow your load right when you start. Anyway, moving on. How is everyone doing? Arindam, how are you doing despite your shitty ass net connection?
Okay, this was the second time that I promised everyone we'd be going live, and this, I don't know, internet has fucked me over. Everything was working yesterday. I'll provide all the reasonings, and I'll let the good folks at Film Geeks decide. So yesterday when we tested, Anir, do you attest to the fact that everything was working, everything was fine?
Yes, we did it for half an hour, so it seemed fine. We did the testing around the same time, so I'm not sure what happened today. I think all the uncles are watching Gandhi Baat on all Balaji, so internet has gone and fucked everybody, including us, in the ass. So there you go.
Yeah, and someone was just saying that this was a family show. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's another factor, I think, because Pornhub has made the premium, subscription free across globally. So that might be another reason why the bandwidth is being eaten up, and I am not being able to stream live. So anyway, other than that, I've been watching a couple of movies. We had a holiday today, surprisingly, which we weren't even aware of. And it's a nice surprise. You didn't need to log in from home, which kind of felt like a vacation. So I watched another movie, which we'll talk about a little later. And what about you, Anir? What have you been doing?
So I made an ill-advised travel to Malaysia and Singapore, and I came back on the 9th, and I've been home ever since. It's been more than 14 days, so I'm out of the quarantine period. But Modi ji has said, no, you can't leave. So I'm still in my room. This is my island. This is where I've been for some time, and it sucks ass because I didn't think that I would miss human contact so much, man. But I do. I fucking do. So I've been watching a few stuff, not too much. Work is still happening. My company is based out of the everything we can do off the cloud, so no problems there, or let's just say problems there for me. So yeah, not that much to add, but a few movies here and there. Abhishek, how are your cats, man?
My cats are fine, actually. I don't think they are too enthused that I'm home 24/7, but I'm enjoying the quarantine because this is practically what I have trained myself over the years to do because I usually don't go out much. And yeah, I've been working from home. I'll be working right after this podcast ends as well. So it's all good. I mean, as good as it can get in this situation. So let's start with the topics of discussion. Let's start with the first topic of discussion. That is, this is considering that we haven't met for a while, and this news happened right after the world, kind of went into reboot mode. Let's talk about The Batman. The decision of taking someone of the pedigree of Robert Pattinson in that role, and what we've seen from that movie is, of course, being directed by the guy who did Planet of the Apes, the trilogy, one of the greatest trilogies of our times, severely underrated, but it's one of the best trilogies of our times that you can watch. Let's start with you, Parjanya, considering that you are the biggest DC fan among us all. So let's start with you. What are your thoughts on A, the casting choice? B, where do you think this movie will go? And three, what are your expectations from the DC universe as a whole?
Expectations from the DC universe as a whole. Let's start with the other side. Not much. I'm expecting more from the animated universe. Like, I'm more excited for that Justice League Apocalypse War thing. because that looks badass. It looks like, you know, it's rated R and there's like a whole lot of stuff happening there. As far as Batman goes, I like the Robert Pattinson casting. Like I really think he's a really good actor. And, you know, all the other casting with Penguin, like Colin Farrell and all of that all of that looks, you know, all of that sounds great. I'm not a fan of the visual, the bat suit. Not doing it for me. It's almost as if, you know, you went like, I'm not a huge fan of the Christopher Nolan aesthetic. And this seems like, you know, from Nolan you went to the sort of whatever you say about Snyder and the sort of visual aspect of Batman in the Snyder movies was very much this sort of Jim Lee / Dark Knight Returns kind of a thing. And, you know, to come back from that grey body sock kind of classic Batman costume to this, back to this sort of paramilitary Dark Knight Rises kind of a costume, I'm not really a fan of that. Plus his gauntlets look like they're Black Widow's things with But otherwise, I mean, yeah, like I came around to the Batmobile, I saw more shots of it. I took a look at, like, I'm not very much, I don't really know things about cars, but I took a look at what people are saying on the group, and I like it. Again, it's just the first, at least the first impression of the suit, not a fan. But otherwise, yeah, I'm excited. Like, I hope they take it a little bit more. From what we've read, they are taking it a little bit more in that detective sort of noir crime sort of a way, and not just, you know, not just this sort of vigilante superhero kind of a thing. So I'm excited, and I hope that the costume and all that looks kind of better once all the things are added, the special effects and all that are added. Yeah.
What about you, Arindam? What did you make of the entire situation?
I absolutely loved it. Like right from the start when they showed us, you know, that Daredevil teaser trailer in which they revealed the suit. I really loved the metal design of the sign that we have. Basically, what they did was they took Kevin Smith's story, allegedly, because this hasn't been confirmed yet. But even if it isn't confirmed in the movie, everyone is going to see that that is what it is. It's supposedly the gun which killed Batman's parents. He bought this from some shop as matches Malone in the comic that he does, and he forges it into his suit. So the metal that broke his heart as a child will protect his life as a man. So I think that was a quote used in the book. I love that aspect of it. I like that it's pulling from various little things from the books, like the cowl. It has a distinct design which Mike Mignola, he used in the design of the Batsuit in Gotham by Gaslight. I do not like the ears, though. They feel like antennas for some reason.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I didn't like that at all. Coming to the casting, I really like it. I'll just go through the casting. I pulled it up from IMDb. So we have Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. Supposedly, this will be his second year as Batman. Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle. She has also played Catwoman before. Can any one of you guess where she played Catwoman? Okay, it was the Lego Batman movie. She was also cast as Catwoman over there. So I really like that pull.
I was about to say that because we reviewed that movie back in when we were a regular thing back in 2017. So you guys can go back and check that as well.
Yeah. So we also have Andy Serkis as Alfred, which I find as a weird choice. I think it will pull from Earth One's version of Alfred, where he's a real military badass, because I don't think he's that old. So there's high chances that he'll be a really kick-ass character, an Alfred that we haven't seen on screen yet. All of them have been subservient to Batman, like they've always been the caring father type. This time maybe we'll see more of that military background guy who also can kick Bruce's ass. We have Paul Dano as the Riddler, the most punchable face in Hollywood ever. I'd love to see his take on it. You know, just I can imagine him wearing that green bowler hat already. Also, Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon, which is kind of interesting because I love him in Westworld. I think he's one of the best casting choices. I don't really care about the race bending because it's just James Gordon, and I know he's a great actor. He can pull it off. And last, of course, Carmine Falcone. I think John Turturro is playing him. So that I know he's going to nail it. like playing a mobster, maybe bring some of that Miller's Crossing groove back. I'm really excited for this. The car, I loved it. I think with the suit, I think they're going to keep upgrading, keep changing. Like he does some mini missions in the movie. Maybe he comes back, he upgrades himself. Maybe we'll see something like that. We saw that in the Nolan movies. I like that aspect as a lot. I think this is something that I'm really looking forward to, if we survive the apocalypse, of course.
I'm not too sure about Colin Farrell as Penguin, or actually, I'm not even sure about Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Don't you think this is like the thinnest cast when you think about it? Like Robert Pattinson, when you think about him, he seems like a very thin guy to play Batman. Zoe Kravitz, too thin to play Catwoman. Physically thin, obviously. Physically, Colin Farrell.
She's supposed to be a cat burglar. You can't have fucking China as Catwoman, right?
No, it doesn't have to be that size, but still, that's not what you historically have associated with Catwoman, which was the smallest, most petitest.
Coming out right now. These are some Raman issues.
Maybe. Okay. Doesn't matter.
No, but there was a point about that. There was an article on the web where they were saying that Robert Pattinson was having problems putting on weight for this role.
Yeah.
At least in the earlier part,
See, I don't doubt the acting capabilities of any of the cast except for Colin Farrell, because I think Colin Farrell sucks ass. I don't think I've seen a good movie out of him.
In Bruges, man, haven't you watched In Bruges?
Okay, I've seen In Bruges, and In Bruges is not his fucking movie.
Awesome in Daredevil.
Shut the fuck up. He was not awesome in Daredevil. Daredevil sucked.
He was pretty good in Daredevil. Okay,
no, he wasn't.
I hope he.
You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. Okay, he wasn't good in Daredevil. In Bruges, okay, he didn't carry that movie. Okay, it was not because of him that the movie was good. But let's not just talk about. I mean, I don't think he is such a good actor. Plus, as Penguin, I don't think he is menacing enough to be Penguin. Riddler, I can totally see Paul Dano do it, man. I can totally see Paul Dano do it. Acting-wise, like I said, I don't doubt any of the characters. Turturro as Falcone is amazing choice. I really think so. But Colin Farrell, maybe not.
See, what I think is, if he was alive, I think the best choice for Carmine Falcone ever, even when I was reading the comics, the only person I could think of as Carmine Falcone would have been James Gandolfini. He was just perfect, and what a fucking amazing actor.
You're saying this just because you're watching Sopranos right now. Okay, let's not. You're saying this just because you're rewatching Sopranos, and that's a fact. Okay.
It is a fact. Hold on, but Carmine Falcone, an Italian-American gangster. Who is the greatest Italian-American gangster who is fat, who controls his city with an iron fist? Who can you put that as? Apart from Brando. It has to be Gandolfini, right? Gandolfini would have been the perfect cast, but of course he's not there. And John Turturro will bring his own manic energy to the role. But what I'm most interested in all of this is is the director. Because Matt Reeves, in my opinion, has not made a bad movie yet. And what always struck me through all of these DC movies was something which I keep saying on the group as well, that they have amazing people working on these films through the board. You start right from Man of Steel, they had amazing casting choices, amazing people working behind the scenes, except the director. Zack Snyder was the problem. Yeah, you can say whatever, I don't have taste or whatever. I read comics, bitch. So, yeah. Zack Snyder was
We don't read comics.
So, Zack Snyder was an issue. Zack Snyder had a problem with his vision because he did not understand. He wanted to put in all his Ayn Rand garbage into Superman and made Batman into a vigilante, which he is, but made him into a mass murdering psychopath. He didn't understand the characters. They're doing some great things with Diana, and they're doing some decent stuff with Shazam and Aquaman as well. I think Matt Reeves, with with whatever you've heard from this project, he's doing some interesting things. These are things which you've not seen in the movies, at least not since the Tim Burton films. And this is something which will be very interesting, because as much as I love the first two Nolan films, especially Dark Knight is fucking brilliant. However, they were not great Batman movies. There were movies with Batman in them. We haven't really got a pure Batman film since 1989 or probably 1991. So I'm really excited for that. I'm not a huge fan of his very various accoutrements on his suit, like Parjanya said. I don't like the fact that he has it's almost a tactical suit. It almost looks like the Crisis guy with a cowl. So I'm not a fan of that. I mean, it's Batman. You can't see him coming. That's the point, right? However, let's just see onward and upwards, as they say. I'm really excited for this movie. Also, speaking of things that I'm excited for, what about the CWVerse? And we have an expert of the CWVerse here. That's Parjanya. He has been watching. I think you've been following the CWVerse enough for the past.
I have.
For the past how many ever years? So how do you think that this is? In terms of quality, of course, they're completely different things. But what are your hopes for the CWVerse with DC? And let's bring in Doom Patrol and Stargirl and the other DC shows as well, like Titans.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I haven't really watched the CWVerse after Crisis, and I wasn't really watching the seasons up till Crisis. I was only watching, the first couple of episodes just before Crisis, just to get the tying into it with the Monitor and the Harbinger going around and getting people and all that. Crisis itself, I really liked the first 2-3 parts. The last, like the 4th and 5th part, are absolute just garbage. Like kuch bhi ho raha tha. Like I know even in the actual any of the Crisis events, kuch bhi hota hai, but this was literally, there was no, like, anything was happening. Now after the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, I've only seen a couple of episodes of Flash. That has also now gone off air, right? Because of the virus thing. But I am excited for Stargirl. I am excited for Doom Patrol Season 2. And I actually like Titans. I actually like Titans Season 2, man. Titans Season 2 was so much better than Titans Season 1.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, dude. My only complaint with Titans Season 2 was that you didn't focus on Beast Boy at all. The entire time, Beast Boy was just a babysitter. His character says it, like, what do I do? And Dick Grayson is like, chill, just make sure nobody gets in or out of the house.
But Beast Boy was the focus even in the first season. Beast Boy was there.
They had a pretty cool origin about him in the first, and they did focus on his relationship with Raven. And I agree. I think it fell short in season 2. And you guys bashed on the show so much, I stopped watching at around maybe the 4th episode of season 2. I'm not really sure what Deathstroke was doing over there, though. It felt quite aimless. The kind of the kidnappings that he pulls off. It goes like literally nowhere. Any thoughts on that? Because coming right off the heels of after Doom Patrol, I think that is one of the best DC live action properties that I've ever seen. It was so well done. I just couldn't imagine things like translated so well from the page, and with the budget that they were working at. It was low budget, but they made it work really well.
No, I think Cyborg was better than the DCEU Cyborg.
Yeah, true. Like that guy literally just had a tinfoil hat.
I know, right?
Yeah, that was it. They didn't need anything else. He just used his arm blaster once in a while. But the characterization was so much better than the Zack Snyder universe. I think they were gonna make a movie, right? And it got cancelled with Ezra Miller and what's his name, Ray Fisher.
Yeah, they were. That was the first original draft.
Yeah, that was the Flashpoint movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it was before Flashpoint. They were gonna do like a buddy cop movie with Flash and Cyborg because they were both the younger people in the group.
Flash movie has gone through so many iterations. It can have its own crisis, because they had Grant Morrison trying to write the script with Ezra Miller at one point. So because it's Grant Morrison, they can actually have a Flash movie with him trying to write different scripts and it getting rejected by DC all the time. So that's an actual possibility. And DC should pay me for because this is a good idea, man.
I have a similar pitch for Deadpool. Basically, this is how it should be. I know, but Anir, but let me just get this off my system, and then Anir, you can come in with your thoughts on the DC shows. So basically, what will happen is Deadpool 3 will focus on Deadpool's world is collapsing around him. This is the first 10 minutes of the movie. Everyone around him is either fading away to dust and all of that, and he's like, "What the fuck, Thanos?" and all. And what's basically happening is the Fox universe is collapsing upon itself. So what he decides is he hitches a ride with Blind Al and he goes all the way to LA. And there he meets Hugh Jackman. And he says, "Dude, you're the guy who played Wolverine. You can call the shots. Why don't you and I go to Kevin Feige's office?" And that is how Deadpool 3 will work. So basically,
he'll break the fourth wall and enter the universe through the real world.
Yes, he breaks the fourth wall, enters the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Hugh Jackman, and at the end, snap happens and Hugh Jackman fades away. So Hugh Jackman also goes away, and then he's established in the current universe. So basically, he enters the battle right when Tony Stark is getting, is dying or whatever, and he sees this from a distance, and he runs and he meets all of these guys taking off their makeup and shit. And that is how Deadpool enters the Marvel universe. So that's basically taken from Gwenpool or whatever, but that's basically what I did.
Why does it seem like this is really the strategy that Ryan Reynolds must have adopted? Like, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds must have gone to Hugh Jackman and just be like, "Chal jate hain Kevin Feige ka office mein."
You know who should direct this? Just that sequence, maybe not the entire movie. Terry Gilliam, because he did something very similar in the third Monty Python movie, Meaning of Life. Because if you remember, that starts off with a short movie, and the middle of the movie, the short movie tries to take over the main feature movie. So I think that guy would be the perfect to bring in and try to do it. Okay, I think,
But
we are digressing.
Since it will take him 20 years to direct just that shot. So that's also there. It'll take him 20 years.
Adam Driver will be involved in some capacity, so it's okay.
Yeah, Adam Driver can play Kevin Feige. Who gives a shit?
Okay.
Anil, I just wanted to. Go ahead.
Well, no, you should go ahead because I don't like the CWVerse. I'm not really somebody who got into it. I tried following Arrow, but it just seemed like superhero OC. It just was one of the shows that seemed like soap opera-ish, and the other shows I tried to follow them, and they gave up the same vibe. A lot of them gave the same vibe. And that's something that I don't know. I just can't get into. I mean, you look at what Daredevil was doing, what Punisher was doing, and that's fantastic. I can get into that. But the whole OC vibe of CW, it just sort of doesn't agree with me. So I never can dedicate myself to those shows. I know that they made the whole thing very complex, and from what I've heard, they have made it all those universes that combined into each other, and a lot of multiverses, people appearing in each other's shows and all that, and that's brilliant. I don't know if this is true or not because I don't follow it, but I heard that Ezra Miller also made an appearance on Flash.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I think it's brilliant on that level. Yes, that they're thinking about it on a very grand scale, but the overall storyline and how they approach it is at the same time, it's not kiddish enough for me to watch it like I would maybe say an animated series. At the same time, it's not grown enough for me to watch it like I would say Daredevil or even The Punisher. So I just not up my alley. So I just never could get into it.
The Ezra Miller thing was great. That was like my favorite. That was pretty much everyone's favorite scene in the entire Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Right?
I mean, that's how he comes to know that his name is Flash, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was amazing. Like, because then you realize that they haven't called him Flash at all in the Justice League movie. They haven't
Exactly.
mentioned that at all, right? But from what I've read, that they uh, they want. I don't know what's going on with the Flash since it's like off air. They're not shooting it anymore. But they wanted to bring him back for like a bit. So I don't know what's happening with that, because and as it stands right now in the CW after Crisis on Infinite Earth, uh, what they did was they they remade the multiverse, but people in the multiverse are not aware of the other multiverse. So it's like that. Uh, you know how like in the comics, Crisis on Infinite Earth destroys the multiverse, and you have the new Earth, and then the multiverse comes back in Infinite Crisis, but the people of the multiverse aren't aware of it, and they're made aware of it in Final Crisis. So it's kind of in that stage where the people living in the CW verse, the kind of mishmash Earth Prime, are not aware of the multiverse. They remember the multiverse from the past, but they are not
Right.
aware that it exists again now. Which is where that Kingdom Come Superman has now transitioned back to the old classic blue and yellow, red and yellow costume, and all of that has happened. And I'm guessing they're going to use that as a template for like the entire DC worlds of DC thing that they were doing, and they're going to have Ezra Miller still kicking around there somewhere because the Speed Force is still there, So I don't know what they're doing with that, but it's interesting that they even thought about, like they did that because they fought for it. Apparently, that's the story. They fought for to get Ezra Miller onto the show and have that entire scene. I don't think they did it. They would have done it if it didn't have any payoff later on, right?
I think
But
the guy who is more instrumental and who pulls all the strings, all of his major Hollywood strings, is Stephen Amell, because he has some major clout and he gets along apparently well with everyone, and he is in the cusp of pop culture in every phase of pop culture. He's popular with the comic book fans. He's popular with the CW
yeah,
fans, and he's very popular in the wrestling community as well.
I actually
oh
find
So
yeah,
Stephen
yeah,
Amell
yeah.
is a major driving force of all of these things that happen. That being said, let's keep it to DC and let's talk about two things that we want to talk about. The first thing which I'm going to talk about, and I'll start with Anil. What are your thoughts on Wonder Woman 84? We have seen very, very, very little of this movie. We have seen one trailer, which was fine. I mean, granted, it was it banked a lot on Gal Gadot and her entire presence, but it gave away literally nothing. They're playing on the same fish out of water thing, just the roles have reversed. This time it's set in the 80s. We have not seen Cheetah at all and that is going to be a very, very, very touch and go thing because of the way the character design is. And also Patty Jenkins. I was not really convinced in the first movie as well, even though it was fine. But the third act sucked. So, what do we think of Wonder Woman 84? And even before the coronavirus pandemic, we had seen very little of it. They had cancelled appearances in the Sao Paulo Comic Con. They have not made an appearance in Comic Con for 2 years. So, what do we think of this movie? This is supposed to be the next big DC thing. This is supposed to be their pet project now. Now that Superman, Batman, everything is dead, Wonder Woman is the character and the movie that they're banking completely on, and that is the only sequel from the new look DC that has come out. So, what are your thoughts on that? And let's start with you on it.
Yeah, they're playing their cards pretty close to the chest. So that might mean two things. Either it sucks ass and they're trying not to give away too much and banking on all those pre-release ticket sales and all that. But I'm not sure what vibe they're going for. No, I don't mean that. I mean, we know what vibe they're going for. The whole Stranger Things vibe. They have got that whole synth thing down and all that. And they probably it's in the 80s, so it's just after the Cold War. And so we don't really know what kind of storyline they're aiming for, but we know that it'll be again another Steve coming out of the ice, probably reintroduction, just like Captain America, and
Yeah.
introducing him to pop culture. But this time, Gal Gadot is the one who is training him, probably where they get stuck up. I don't think this is something that has me really excited. Now, like you said, Abhishek, the first movie, even I wasn't that convinced. I mean, it was the better movie out of the whole DC lot, even back then. But even then, the third act was pretty terrible. It had
Yeah.
one of the
Oh,
worst villains ever. I mean, it just wasn't convincing enough. Not just the worst villain, the worst sidekick villain also. I mean, it just didn't work for me in that sense. Uh, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah maybe works, but we have seen her. I see Kristen Wiig as a very talented actress who has a lot of hit and misses, a lot of misses also. I mean, she's just one of those actresses that probably doesn't know where she wants to be attached with. She wants to do everything, and she does. I mean, she does good movies, she does shitty movies, and that's where she is. I mean, she's just like one of the SNL bunch. They like to do everything. And Kristen Wiig is definitely one of those actresses. She wants to diversify and do everything. But in here, she might do a good job, might not do a good job. She might be literally a caricature of what this thing is. I mean, I'll see. The
Yeah.
movie has been delayed till August. We're not sure if August is when this pandemic will or epidemic will end, and that probably it might be pushed even more. But looking at how people in the US are reacting to this, I think it'll still give it a decent run. Probably, but as with all of these movies, they're all banking on China. So that is where most of the money is being made. Let's see if it'll work there as well. Right now, I don't think there's a global appetite for movies, so maybe they need to delay it even more.
Parjanya, what did you think of the Wonder
Uh,
Woman?
yeah, I agree. The first movie, like I like the origin story part of it, the first couple of acts. The third act, like, really took me out of the entire thing. It's a garbage fight scene. It's a garbage villain, and I agree. Even that Doctor Poison thing, I was just like, "ये कौन है? क्या है ये? Like, क्यों है?" But the the aesthetic, yeah, of the new movie looks different, much different. I'm interested in seeing, yeah, Cheetah and all, but as far as the new crop of DC things go, I think I'm wherever it stands. I'm more excited for, say, Black Adam, especially that The Rock made an announcement. He keeps making announcements every 2 or 3 months, but he this time it seemed like it's actually really going somewhere. So I mean, I'm a bit more excited for Black Adam than uh, Wonder Woman 84. I mean, I'll still go probably see it. I'll probably see it. I won't go see it. That makes sense.
Like I said, pre-sales is where it'll kill it.
Yeah,
Pre-sales is
yeah.
definitely where this movie is killing it. I don't know afterwards. That remains to be seen. I'm not holding my breath on this one. So probably Black Adam. I don't know, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little tired of seeing The Rock everywhere. Well, not Rock. Rock was great. Dwayne Johnson everywhere. I'm just a little bit tired of seeing him everywhere. He's in
I
everything,
have
man.
thoughts on this. But Arindam, let's finish up your thoughts on Wonder Woman 84, and then probably we can go on doing Johnson and what he's planning to do next.
I'm kind of, I don't know. I was okay. I liked Wonder Woman. I don't know how the other, this movie is going to turn out. I'm really, I don't know how Kristen Wiig is going to perform as Cheetah because I haven't really seen her in serious roles. Maybe I've seen one or two dramas. There was that movie where she had a brother with terminal cancer or something. So it was a very Oscar baity type of movie. Uh, other than that, I'm not really sure how she's going to be. They haven't showed us anything regarding her role, like regarding her characterization. There is a chance that she might be a comedic villain, something like Loki, which I'm not excited to see because they need a villain who sticks around. Cheetah, granted, she's not. She seems like one and done villain, but I'm really hoping that's not the case. And she, because we have really lack of good female villains in the DC universe. I don't think there has been even one. Like leave a male villain, there hasn't been one proper villain till now in the modern DC universe. So I really
Yeah.
hope that she breaks that curse. Dr. Sivana, I love the actor, but he sucked in the movie. I loved Shazam, by the way, but he was just a one-note character. So that being said, I'm just tempered. I'm okay with not watching Wonder Woman 84 at all. It's like not at my to watch list.
Right. Speaking of, I'm picking up where Parjania left off, and that is on Dwayne Johnson. Sorry, with where Anirban left off, and that is where Dwayne Johnson. Now, Dwayne Johnson, granted, he does all of these great action, great in the sense your mileage will obviously differ, but these very popcorn flicks. You have your San Andreas, you have your Fast and the Furious movies, you have all of these flicks, right? Which you can watch, you can put back, relax, text on your phone, do whatever, play in the background. However, he's been compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger. The only thing that is similar between these two people are their sizes. He doesn't have a commando yet. He doesn't have a role which he can say, this is my role for which I will be known for. He doesn't have a Terminator. He doesn't have a True Lies. And though we know that the guy can act, okay, and he is very, very hardworking because he was doing his Fast and the Furious movies. He was filming San Andreas, and he was doing 2 shows back to back on HBO. He was filming 2 seasons together of Ballers on HBO.
Ballers, yeah.
That is some prime hard work. However, he also selects the same type of roles. Like, I don't give a shit about the new Jumanji, which I hated. I don't care about Jungle Cruise or whatever. These are movies which people can sleepwalk through. He needs something which 20 years down the line, 15 years down the line, or 10 years also down the line, people will remember Dwayne Johnson films. Because right now, if you tell me, I can't separate, if you give me a frame of a film which he has made, and that's more towards the director, but whatever, of a Dwayne
He
Johnson
plays the
film,
Rock in all of them.
Yeah, he plays the Rock in all of them. There is no difference. Arnold was different. Dutch was different from your T-800, and all of these roles, even though they were all big action flicks, they were all a little different, and that's the point I'm trying to make. And coming back, picking up from where Arindam said, DC has a villain. DC has always had a villain, and that villain has taken the shape of a noxious internet movement now. Release the Snyder Cut. So the first question here is, does the Snyder Cut exist? And the second question, if it does exist, would you be interested to watch it? So let's start with Parjanya. Hashtag DC Mother.
Yes, let's do it. Hashtag DC Mother. But I just want to say the guy who directed Jungle Cruise is going to be directing Black Adam. That was in the announcement that The Rock made, maybe I think a week ago or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the director's name, but he definitely said that it's the director from Jungle Cruise. So I don't know what to make of that because I have not seen anything about Jungle Cruise, or I have not read any reviews, so I really don't know anything to add to that. But yeah, that's it. Also, DC, I thought Ocean Master was a pretty decent villain for that kind of setting. The ending ruined it, but the character was pretty good. He was this kind of cranky, spoiled, rich boy, entitled piece of shit that Ocean Master usually is in the comics. I mean, he was that, that younger prince kind of a role. So the ending did ruin it, but I felt it was good. About the Snyder Cut, I want to see it now. I just want to see it. Bas ho gaya. This is the best time to do it. Right now, no need to release it in the theaters. Just do it straight to digital and just release it. Remember before X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, there was that shitty, incomplete copy of X-Men Origins that came out.
That's the only way I watched it.
Exactly, that's the only way I watched it. I never watched it in the theater. Yeah, this half-done CGI with them on the roof, and I'd watch Snyder Cut like that, man. Ghar pe baithe, if that's the condition it's in, do it. I think this movement has gone on far enough. It was a joke, but now I think it's just becoming just desperate and kind of pitiful, because people are just uploading this one screen grab from Snyder's thing.
People are not uploading. It's Zack Father himself on video.
Yeah. I mean, Zack Daddy. And then people are, sharing that and going on with that. But I feel they should actually just do it, release it now, because what's it going to cost? It's not gonna cost Warner Brothers anything to do it now. Like the movie has come and gone. Justice League, whatever damage it had to do, it did. Whatever money it had to make, it barely made that, right? Or that cast is not really coming back, right? I don't think Ray Fisher is going to do another cyborg role. Ezra Miller might, we'd never know. Every year they have a new director or a new script. Wonder Woman's the only, and Aquaman are the only like steady ones. We don't know what the fuck is happening with Henry Cavill. Every time The Rock makes a new announcement about Black Adam, he keeps saying that Black Adam is as strong as Superman, and he keeps mentioning that. But we know Superman is not going to be the villain in Black Adam. So we don't know what Henry Cavill's status is, and nobody's saying anything about that. So might as well just make the Snyder Cut.
I think the most important part here to understand is the Justice League does not exist without Batman and Superman. And both of these roles, Ben Affleck is never coming back to Batman.
No.
Neither is Henry Cavill, because the way they've treated him. I don't think these two people are coming back. And that, this is, like you said, this is the best time to release. Anirban, what do you think about this?
I do think it exists. I really do. And there's no doubt about it. It exists. The only thing is that it's not in a state where it can be released. Definitely, it still needs some work done. And Zack Snyder probably wants to do it. It's just that it doesn't make economic sense or financial sense for the corporation. At the end of it, they are just businesses. And you have to remember, they'll want to drive as much mileage out of this, no matter what, be it straight VOD or Netflix or Prime, whatever. They'll want to do that. But the thing is that if they are not doing it, there has to be a financial sense for it. As far as how good it is or bad it is, that's really, I don't know. I don't know how much better it could be. I know a lot of people, it's actually a split room when you talk about this movie and whether it was good or bad. I'm one of those who fall into that category who really dislike the movie. So much so that I don't think any cut can salvage it. I don't think so. At least that's my personal opinion. It was just something that, and again, there'll be a lot of people who will be debating me on this, and people actually love even the cut that was released. But Snyder Cut is not going to improve on it if I didn't like the original cut to such a degree that even if it improves to say 30%, 40% of what it was when it was released, I don't think I'll be interested enough or excited enough to see it. But still, yes, it might actually drive just this. The movement alone might make sense for them to consider it. But I'm sure they have made all of those calculations and seen that it's just not worth it to drive all that mileage out of it. So if they don't think it should be released, then who am I to get in their way, man?
I think I disagree with you when you say that it doesn't make financial sense, because HBO needs to sell HBO Max. They've bought Friends for like millions of dollars, and they can get these crazy Snyder bots on their platform just by saying that, on launch day, we are going to have Snyder Cut over there. So financially, absolutely, it makes sense. And it's also that these people are paying members in San Diego Comic Con. If you remember, they had these huge hoardings up, and they've done some good work. They've done some charity work in support of the Snyder Cut. I absolutely think it does exist in some form, like Anir, you said. And but it's not in the way that I don't think that there have been scenes that have been completely shot by him. The CG is definitely remaining. Kevin Smith, I guess, Jim Lee personally showed him. He has mentioned this in his podcast that Jim Lee personally showed him the scenes in which they had a Green Lantern come in and everything. So it was planned. I don't think it was shot. Obviously, the CGI, etc., wasn't done. Maybe in early stage of pre-production, it does exist, but a lot of money needs to be spent.
And speaking of money spent, let's go on to the web platform, because they have been spending all of these players, right? You have internationally, you have your Amazon Primes, your Netflixes, and your Hotstars, which is being taken over by Disney. They are spending an inordinate amounts of money for content that might or might not fly. Let's start with one such show. I'm not sure if everyone here has watched it, but one such show which has definitely been talked about a lot is Hunters. Now, the premise of the show is quite interesting because this is something which I would definitely watch. I mean, the elevator pitch of this show is Jews in the 70s hunting Nazis in New York, and
Yeah.
it's produced by Jordan Peele, and it stars Al Pacino. 70s Al Pacino, that's a great mix. However, personally, I thought the show was really patchy. It does not know what it's going for. It really, really, really glamorizes the violence, and also, kind of glamorizes the Nazi bit of it, the fucked up bits of, I mean, about Nazi Germany. It really glamorizes that, especially the chess scene in the first part. It I don't really know what type of a show it's going for, uh, because one moment it's comedy, next moment it's surreal. It has a lot of surrealism going on. The third part is it becomes a revenge drama. Then fourth part it's a character study. So it doesn't really know what type of a show it wants to be. Uh, so that will definitely take you out, and the ending of the show is really bad. So let's not give away with spoilers. I know Arindam hasn't watched it yet. Parjanya, what did you think of it? Try not to give away spoilers, but what are your initial
Yeah.
thoughts of it? Would you recommend people to watch it?
I would recommend people to watch it. See, like I'm a history student and a history buff, so I was studying this about Operation Paperclip and how it actually happened in real life, and this actually happened, right? These Nazis were living in the U.S. They were brought there by the government, and just to reflect off of reality, there's a line in the without giving spoilers, there's a line in the show where one of the Nazis he basically says something like. America and Nazi Germany were enemies during the war, but if Nazis had to up and move to some other country and kind of settle there naturally and comfortably, America was the natural place because it's such built on natural racism and historical racism and white supremacy that they found it very comfortable to come and just settle there. Right? Like I really like that aspect that they added that, and it really sort of made me think about this whole idea of how you have neo Nazis and all of the popping up now, and I'm like, yeah, this you're always surprised as it's America, the nation that literally the only thing that they claim is that we fought the Nazis, and they're not that far away. So the premise and the setup of the show is nice. I found the later couple of episodes a bit going here and there, but the actually initial and the kind of the cast of the Nazi hunters was really good, especially that I forget the name now. That couple who's there, the married couple, and that entire thing with their all of that was amazing. That was really good. I liked it, but it was good. I would suggest people watch it. At least give it a try. I liked it.
And what are you going to do for 21 days anyway? Waste your time.
Yeah. I'm watching The Wire because I haven't watched it before. So. Cardinal Sin, I know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Hunters is it's got a fantastic cast. Well, it's got a cast that can deliver, not a fantastic cast as such, but most of them don't. The show is very, and considering who produced it, I mean, it's too early to put Jordan Peele up on a pedestal, but I really think that this didn't work in so many levels. If they had maybe even made it a more serious show and not try to put in a lot of comedic elements in here and there. I mean, you have people who are daydreaming into places where they're breaking the fourth wall, and you have really caricaturish segues into in character introductions and all. It's just so irritating sometimes to watch that because you know that they should get a different treatment. And the only one in the whole cast who I actually absolutely loved is the guy who played the neo-Nazi,
Right.
played by Greg Austin, I think.
Yeah.
Travis.
Oh, that
Yeah. So he
evil
was
Captain
brilliant
America
in that whole show. Yeah, he was brilliant in that show.
Yeah.
He was truly menacing. You see him and you feel that whole vibe coming off him that he actually believes that race is actually a privilege and that other races don't deserve to be that privilege. And he conveyed that so well. And others, you're struggling to get that whole vibe. You're struggling to get that of Al Pacino. You're struggling to get of the main lead. Logan Lerman is so, it doesn't strike you as the protagonist. He just doesn't. He's just all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, I
He's a
don't know.
wallflower.
Logan Lerman, he is a wallflower. Even in that movie, he was a wallflower. I mean, in all the senses of the word. I don't know where this goes. Not impressive. I would not recommend it. And you're right. The ending. Those of you who haven't watched it and plan to watch it, please watch it. It's fine. It's okay. If you can digest a poor ending, yes, sure, go for it. If you just are not, if you're one of those people who cannot digest an ending that is so bad that it made you question why you watched it in the first place,
Yeah.
take my advice, watch something else. There's a lot of better things to watch.
Speaking of things you can also watch, the Desi side of it also has come up with some few great shows. But as it goes with most of the Indian content, you have to temper your expectations a little bit. That said, I think Arindam here has watched one such show, which the rest of us have not. If you on the group have watched it, then please chime in with your comments as well. Arindam, how is Asur and should everyone watch it?
I definitely recommend Asur to everyone. I think Parjanya has watched as well. It has some great writing. I didn't expect that. It has a great tone. It has great cinematography of all things, and it has great use of practical effects. I mentioned in my review in the group that it takes its inspiration from some of the best crime shows that we see on TV, Mindhunter, True Detective, all these shows. You'll see these referenced here. So it's not entirely original because uh, but it does take its mysticism. It takes something from mythology, and it isn't what some have been calling, Hindu phobic. For the Netflix show, it isn't really blatant that way. It has a very balanced perspective. They show the law doing its work. Uh, there are some leaps in logic, like the person okay, I'll be spoiling if I say this. Okay, there's one part over there in which nickel is found in the bloodstream by some guy who is called Nikhil, and by drawing some random strings out of nowhere, Arshad Varsi, he says, okay, it must be this guy because nickel should not exist here. So there are some leaps of logic that it's Indianized in that way. But if you have enjoyed watching CID, it doesn't go to that level, but it also draws inspiration from something like that. Uh, it isn't a bad show at any stretch of the imagination. I loved it. I highly recommend it. Another show, because it ended and I got a recommendation for, I'd taken the Woot subscription for a month, so I just wasn't going to waste it. So I started watching Marzi. And I was very happy to find out Rajiv Khandelwal, one of my favorite actors, was in it. It has to do, like the title says, it's about consent. And midway you find out actually what happens, and Rajiv Khandelwal is such a fantastic actor and just perfectly cast in this role. I think the first three movies that he made are some of the strongest debuts for an Indian actor of all time. Just go to his Wikipedia page, you'll find out. And those are also three movies that I'd highly recommend. Like, you have these many days. If you haven't seen Shaitan, Amir, and Soundtrack, those three movies are just like some of the best Indian 2000s movies that have been made. So yeah, I was digressing from the point again. So these two shows I would highly recommend. Also on Prime, there's a show called Afsos. It's
Oh yeah.
so Afsos is a show that if you watched a show like Dirk Gently and you've enjoyed it, it's exactly as weird as that. It's co-created by one of the very famous Indian comedians, Anirban
I don't think
Dasgupta.
he's. I don't think he's very.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He's one of the most popular guys. I think so because his views
ये
get
ते
like
वो
insane
थोड़ा
amount.
बंगाली bias आ रहा है I think.
There's no Bengali bias.
इतना भी famous नहीं है. But yeah, if you check out the background interviews with Anirban Ganguly, right? Or Bhattacharya.
Dasgupta. Or
Anirban Dasgupta. Sorry.
Yeah.
My name is popping up too much for me to be comfortable here. Let me just say. Oh, another thing, okay, before you say anything, okay, when this guy says that Rajiv Khandelwal is his favorite actor, takes me back to class 11 or so, when this girl, she said that Monish Bahl was her favorite actor ever, and it just takes me back to like, कहाँ
One of
से? Fair enough. It's so out there, you know. It's just so out there. I will never think that Rajiv Khandelwal is anybody's favorite actor.
I think
Yes,
Monish Bahl is not even his mother's favorite actor. And her mother is dead. Monish Bahl किसी का favorite नहीं है. No, this guy he came across, this Dasgupta fellow, he came across as someone who is very unassuming. It looked like he just stumbled upon the plot and he wrote it as he went along. So the shows also plays out like that. It doesn't take itself too seriously and it has some great wit, which is severely lacking. And one such show which had great wit with good content. I mean, I would rate it higher in rewatchability, higher than Secret Games, and that's Mirzapur. I really
Oh,
love
yeah.
Mirzapur, and I'm pretty sure I don't have to recommend this show to anyone. Everyone and anyone who watches content online has at least, if not watched it, has heard of Mirzapur. So you guys can go back and rewatch Mirzapur again, like most people who are college goers or have just started working, who are of the 25 to 30 age range. Please go and watch Mirzapur. It's a great fucking show.
Damn it, you
Uh,
also don't fall into that category, okay?
yeah,
So,
I was just actually
I'm not.
27.
I'm
Okay,
not. I'm not saying. I'm older than that. All I'm saying is you can go ahead and watch that show. There's nothing wrong with it because you keep continuing to quote that fucking show, right? So you can go ahead and enjoy yourself. So speaking of, we're about to wrap this up, but before we go, let's start with our recommendations as we do, and this is going to be an ongoing thing as long as these 21 days of the lockdown continues. We plan to put out 2 podcasts every week. So we'll look forward to more of your participation as it goes. Some guys on the forum, for instance, Lovin has come up with some great ideas, and Hussein, Fuzail, all of these people are coming up with the great ideas. We are looking for more participation. So let's see if that happens in the days to come. So the let's start with the recommendations. These are a few movies which you can recommend, and let's start with mine first, obviously, because mine will take, I hope, the least amount of time. The first movie which you can watch, and I'm going for a theme here, and you guys can guess what theme I'm going for. The first movie which I will recommend is The Void. It's a movie from 2016, and I've been watching. If you've been reading my comments on the group, whenever a movie recommendation or an indie movie recommendation comes up, or the talk of indie movies come up, I recommend this movie. It's from 2016. It's a Canadian movie directed by Stephen Kosansky and Jeremy Gillespie. It goes to very strange places. It is very Lovecraftian. It is of course a horror film, but it is an experience to watch and what people can do with an extremely low budget. I love 80s body horror films, and I love 80s horror films in general, and that is a great movie. The Void from 2016 is available. Uh, you know, pirate that shit. So yeah, watch The Void. My next recommendation is again. Uh, I think it's right at the 90s, and it's one of my favorite John Carpenter films, and it's In the Mouth of Madness. It stars Sam Neill, and it's basically from 1994, right? And John Carpenter has written, edited, and scored the film as well. It's an amazing look at what, again, the vision of this guy has. You have your Scorsese's, you have your Coppolas, you have your these amazing directors that are heralded, and John Carpenter often misses that list. He is right up there, at least for me, with your Spielbergs, with your George Lucases, with your with all these visionary directors. What John Carpenter can do, he's basically the Tony Stark when it comes to filmmaking. The stuff which he can do, Tony Stark does that shit in the cave. With that amount of budget is the point I'm trying to make. So In the Mouth of Madness, 1994, starring Sam Neill. Check that shit out. It's amazing. And the last movie which I would recommend for you guys till we come up with the new podcast is Color Out of Space, directed by this guy called Richard Stanley. And his last major movie which he has done was The Island of Dr. Moreau, which basically was Marlon Brando's swan song, kind of, at least his mainstream swan song. So Color Out of Space is again a Lovecraftian film, and that's the theme which I'm going for. More Lovecraft, you know. And Color Out of Space stars, of course, Nicolas Cage, and it is insane. Okay, if you thought Mandy was good, this is right up there. It is pure Nicolas Cage, unhinged Nicolas Cage, where he goes from the serious, dramatic scene and he turns it into comedy with just expressions. And again, it's an adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story and done in a modern way. Also, a very, very, very good 80s aesthetic is going on. The stuff which Stranger Things popularized. The director, he knows what he's doing, and the best part about this movie is Richard Stanley directed it when he was high. He's completely high throughout the making of this film, which is fucking amazing. So you guys should check it out. It's the score is fantastic as always. It's out on Spotify, so check it out. So these are the few three films which I recommend, and I'm going for a definite Lovecraftian theme here. Let's start with Arindam next. What are your three recommendations?
Okay, so before I start, there are some live viewers who have a few comments, so I'll just read off. So I had asked that what they're watching. Rituparna says that she just watched Death Note, which was directed by Adam Wingard. So Adam Wingard is one of my favorite directors, but he really fucked up on Death Note. That was a terrible adaptation. I guess only Willem Dafoe's as Ryuk was one of my favorite portrayals ever that he has done. I mean, there are no bad William Dafoe performances. He can elevate anything. Next, she's also watching Westworld, another show that I'm watching. I'm loving what they're doing this season. Yeah, okay.
I just watched the last episode. Yes.
I can't spoil it at all. It's one of my all-time favorite Easter eggs that has ever been done. Westworld, season 3, episode 2. Definitely watch that. Next, she says that she has watched Asur, which we've already talked about, and also Invisible Man. If you want to check our review of Invisible Man, do check out our previous episode in which we reviewed it. So Fuzail also says that he enjoyed Asur a lot. And yeah, Superman, I guess that's Gaurav. He has started Hunters, but he couldn't really finish it, but he wants to. He also says that he has finished The Outsider, which we also talked about in the previous episode. So yeah, he also says that where can we watch these The Void, In the Mount of Madness, and Color Out of Space? If not YKW, are these available for streaming anywhere? Abhishek.
I think if needed, I can upload it on my drive and you can stream it from there. And
So hold on, Abhishek.
Yeah.
There's a very easy way to check. Just go to justwatch.in, type in the name of the movie or the TV series, and it'll tell you which platform is streaming it legally. You don't have to actually go to all the trouble of maybe starting at each. You can just go to justwatch.in. It's a good service. It'll just tell you directly where it is streaming, if it is streaming legally. Again.
Okay, so Gaurav, there's your answer. I've written it in the comments as well. It's justwatch.in. I guess you'll be able to find out if they're streaming anywhere else. So yeah, Fuzel says he also watched the pilot of Lock and Key, which seemed mediocre, and he might watch Requiem on Netflix. So
does he mean
coming to my
Requiem for a Dream, or does he mean just
just Requiem, not Requiem.
Okay.
Actually, that was the same thing mistake that I made today.
Yeah, I was like, तूने अभी तक कैसे नहीं देखा Requiem for a Dream?
I'm pretty sure he hasn't seen Requiem for a Dream. Fuzel, please comment if you've seen the movie or not. Okay, so I'll come down to the three recommendations that I have. Three of them are completely different. The first movie that I have in my list is Olentoria. It's a French movie. It came out in the early 2000s. It was in the new wave of French movies, French horror movies, and there are movies in which the whatever takes place, that happens, the event happens, the character goes through some shitty things in their life, but help never comes to them, or maybe the police never arrive, their husbands never come back, the wives don't happen, help never arrives. But in this movie, help does come, but help does not help. So Olentoria is one of the craziest, one of the most sickest movies that I've ever seen. If you are queasy, do not watch it. It involves two ladies. One of them is the protagonist. It just has two people inside a house, and it's one of the scariest shit that you will ever experience. I highly recommend it. The second movie is 12 Angry Men. 12 people trapped in a room talking about if a guy has committed a murder or not. That is it.
Amazing.
And you know,
You
if
can also
some
watch the Hindi version, right?
but that's like 3.5 hours long. Man. I wouldn't recommend going through that. 12 Angry Men, if during my hostel days, I used to recommend movies like I do now. So anyone who said that they did not enjoy watching black and white movies, this was my go-to movie. I said, you enjoy Transformers, it just came out. Transformers 1 had come out. It was like the be-all and all of action movies. I said, just, I know you might not catch all the words going on because the rate of speed is too high in that movie. Turn on your subs. It is an experience. It's a roller coaster that you will go through. Even you will be questioning whether that guy truly deserves whatever happens in the end or not. It's an amazing movie. It's by Sidney Lumet. It's one of the greatest debuts of all time by a director, and I can't recommend this highly enough. The last movie that's on my list, like I said, it's a completely three different movies out of three different genres. It's Wall-E. It's about a tiny little robot who is left alone in the world, who makes structures uh, out of junk basically. And then he discovers another robot, and then an adventure happens. It's a lovely movie. It's one of the greatest animated movies that has ever released. So this is one movie that touched me deeply. Even the ending, I guess we will relate to it. That is where we are headed in these 21 days. You will see what happens to human beings in real life. That is, I think that's a reality that we are going towards. So, and it's a sweet little movie. So these are my three picks. So let's start with you, Parjanya. What are your three?
So my first pick is gonna be wait, hang on here. Man from Earth. I'm guessing most people on this group have already watched Man from Earth, but if you haven't, please go watch it. Again, just like Abhishek, like when it comes to like independent movies and stuff, one of my go-to recommendations is Man from Earth. And being a history student, history buff, I really like that idea. I mean, even if you leave aside the suspension of disbelief, there's a line in that movie where they ask him, if you now without spoiling much, but the premise of the movie is that there's a guy who has lived since the age of the cavemen and hasn't died, and every now and then he lives a life and he moves on, and he lives a life somewhere else and moves on, and he has seen these different periods of history. And it's really a great description of, like we tend to think of history in a certain way, but we're living in history right now, and you're only seeing it one perspective from, one point of view from one person at any given time. And so I like that idea where he says that I lived through all the times, but I was always only at one place at one time. So I didn't know what was going on in the other part of the world that, you might claim that I know. Or the fact that he says that we didn't have maps, or we didn't have, globes and all of that. We just knew that there is land, and when the land ends, there's a sea. And when you look at the sea, you don't know if it's a lake or a pond or if it's an ocean. You don't even know that. You're just standing there. It's so localized, right? That entire idea of just perceiving history through the human eyes. I really like that. Second recommendation would be the Torture Report. It's on Amazon Prime with Adam Driver. Pretty decent. I liked it. It's a good. I kind of like these movies that expose sort of government conspiracies and all that. So it really talked about how Americans authorities were torturing the suspected criminals in the wake of 9/11 and all of that. And then the third recommendation would be Mother by Darren Aronofsky. Because I know the room is usually split with Mother. Like a lot of people either don't like it or they love it. I'm on the latter side. I love that movie. It's a great metaphor for humanity and just Earth and how we live and just the way that it is shot, and that scene where there's just all these people just going crazy, and at a certain point even God can't do anything about it. Like that I like, just this sort of humanity hitting a critical mass, and like we're here right now. That's where we are, and to just that entire those parallels and the visuals that Aronofsky has set. It's kind of gruesome and physical and sort of gorish, but I really like the idea behind it. So, yeah.
Members, Parjanya, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for being a very active part of our little community here and wasting your time with us. Thank you everyone else for your time, and all the best. Jai Shri Ram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and I will see you all in the next episode.